we have reached the final frontier of review season, the apex of 2023, the tippy top of gaming.
Wowie zowie!
October has a ton of great releases, and according to my expert knowledge, is the most loaded month of the year. I could talk about Assassin's Creed Mirage, Forza Motorsport, Alan Wake 2, or the big kahuna, Spider-Man 2, but who are we kidding, we're here for the co-op games, and luckily for us, we're at the right place. The Co-op Monthly is the best place you can be to hear about all the co-op games that were released last month, the co-op games releasing this upcoming month, and all the co-op news in between. Yep, this is the September Monthly, and I'll let my boy get us started.
With the season finale of review season upon us, we got plenty of co-op games to talk about here. Some good, some bad, and even an 11th hour twist. Let's get into it. First up is Enchanted Portals, which released on September 6th on all platforms. Unfortunately, this Cuphead-like game has not done too well for itself, ending up with a 43 on OpenCritic. Imitating a beloved game is always a gamble, and it seems like the only thing that Enchanted Portals got right was the visuals. Most reviews are pointing to frustrating controls and a general lack of polish as prime reasons to skip this one. Until we hear more on what's next from the Cuphead franchise, it seems like the original game and the DLC is all that we have. Faefarm is one of those cozy farming sims, and it ended up with a 76 on OpenCritic, which isn't bad at all. Most reviews say the game nails the cozy aesthetic and manages to keep a good pace without feeling too repetitive. The online co-op mode has also gotten plenty of praise, but most people recommend that you start a specific co-op playthrough so that everyone starts on the same level, so keep that in mind. All in all, Faefarm seems to be a great Stardew Valley alternative, especially if you want something with a more of a fantasy twist. Synced is a free-to-play sci-fi shooter that launched on September 8th exclusively on PC. There's only 2 reviews on OpenCritic, so it doesn't have a full score yet, but Steam user scores have it at mixed with almost 3,000 reviews. From what I can gather, it seems like it has solid gameplay, but falls short on progression. For a free-to-play title though, maybe that's enough to keep a group of friends entertained for at least a weekend or two. Next up is Mythforce, which has surprisingly landed with a 58 on OpenCritic. It seems like the main point of criticism revolves around some lackluster meta progression between matches, which is a key element of a good roguelike. Another thing we're seeing is that the Switch port is really bad, and that also seems to be dragging the score. God is a Geek scored it a 6.5 out of 10, saying this: ultimately, Mythforce isn't a bad game. There's a good variety of enemies, lots of power-ups, and the heroes really come into their own when you play with friends. But there's little synergy between them to encourage experimentation. It's almost like the sample roguelike that comes with the kit, which means it's at least very competent if safe. But in a market as overcrowded as the fantasy roguelike market, it needs to do more to get ahead. Surprised to see this one not do as well. Hopefully they can iron out the issues with some future updates. Boti Byteland Overclocked is a new co-op platformer that launched on September 15th. There's a slew of reviews on OpenCritic, but it doesn't have a final score just yet. The range is pretty mixed however, so I'll just give you my impressions from playing the opening levels with my girlfriend. Boti Byteland Overclocked feels like an Astrobot game, but with co-op, which is something I didn't realize I wanted until now. Thing is, Boti doesn't totally nail it. The split screen co-op can be really finicky, and we ran into some bugs that totally stopped us in our tracks. Overall, I walked away not super impressed, but again, we only played a little bit of the game, so take all this with a big grain of salt. Okay, so now we've gotten to PayDay 3. Where do we even start with this one? Wait, I know, how about being able to play the game at all? Yeah, that would be really nice. To say PayDay 3 has had a disastrous launch is an understatement. The game has had multiple outages for hours on end, leaving gamers unable to play the game at all due to its always online format that everyone warned them about. Naturally, this has not set well with reviewers, with PayDay 3 ultimately ending up with a 65 on OpenCritic. It's a shame as the gameplay seems to be solid, but the lack of content plus a slew of bugs really hampered the experience, and of course the server issues being the cherry on top. We'll have our review on this soon, as long as the servers don't crash again. Jury's still out on that one. PayDay 3 may have botched its launch, but at least people care enough to talk about it. It's been over a week since Avatar: The Last Airbender Quest for Balance launched, and the only person brave enough to review this game is Tom Marks of IGN. Rather than quoting directly from his review, I want to pull up this tweet where he said it's easily the worst game they've ever played since Balan Wonderworld. Yikes. Even after the M. Night movie, that's a whole new low for this franchise. Makes me sad to say this, but with this game being as bad as it is, I doubt we'll ever get the decent Avatar game we all deserve. Okay, so it's been a pretty downer roundup, but I know it's sadly how to turn this around, with some free stuff of course. We Were Here Expeditions The Friendship was shadow dropped a couple weeks ago, and it's free to claim until October 13th on Steam. It's a brand new spin-off in the We Were Here franchise, and it landed with a 76 on OpenCritic. It's a bite-sized adventure, seems to be only like an hour long, but most critics seem to enjoy it. I'm interested to see where this Expeditions label goes and if they can continue to launch as limited time free-to-play titles. Pretty cool regardless, make sure you claim this while you still can. This next game totally snuck up on us. Relic Hunters Legends is a co-op looter shooter that launched onto early access on September 25th. It looks like a 2D Borderlands, and it's gotten some pretty positive buzz already, with most outlets praising the amount of content in the game. That's always a very good sign for an early access title if you ask me. No final OpenCritic score with this one, but it's sitting with a mostly positive user rating on Steam. We love covering more indie games this year, so hopefully we can find some time to play this one soon. Wildmender is a game we got to check out during Steam Next Fest earlier this year, and it released on the 27th. Not too many reviews for this one, but I want to pull a quote from the Lady Gamer site that said this in their review. Wildmender is an engaging and thoughtful simulation about freeing the gods and breathing new life into a barren desert environment. What begins as a game about the dry, barren land, and as you delve into the mystery behind the fallen civilization, it soon becomes a story about harmonious relationships. The story engages you and urges you to play on to discover its secrets. If survival simulation games are your go-to genre, then Wildmender is waiting for you to solve its mysteries. They didn't get to test out co-op, but for our part, it worked decently well. Check it out on Steam if it looks cool to you. The day has finally arrived. Piece of Possum is out now and available for all gamers to enjoy for the incredible price of $7 US, which is a total steal, mind you. No final OpenCritic score just yet, but it is sitting with a very positive user rating on Steam from around 60 reviews. Honestly, it's Piece of Possum, it's a good game, go buy it and look out for our review coming soon, that's all you need to know.
Alright, it's time for me to prove that my whole bit about the Apex at the beginning of this video is true. Genuinely, each game I'm going to talk about here looks like a game that, if I had more time, I'd be covering for this channel. I think you'll see what I mean by the end. First game on that list is a game we actually have played and have loosely covered on this channel, Warhammer 40k Darktide. Stop me if you've heard this story before. Co-op shooter launches in a rough technical state and is a little bit too light on content. Yeah, it's becoming a yearly tradition around here. But with this launch on Xbox consoles, we get to see how far Darktide has come in a year. I can't say for myself if they've been successful, but in some form or another they've patched fixes for cosmetics, crafting, additional missions and enemies, and an entire class overhaul is coming with this specific Xbox console launch. And hey, the gameplay was always there, so we could be looking at a similar comeback to what we got with Back 4 Blood, and hopefully one day for PayDay 3. If this wasn't coming in the apex of the year, I'd love to dive back in with Gabe and our resident Warhammer bro Garrett, but you'll have to let us know how it goes. And of course, friendly reminder, it's on Game Pass. Way back in year 1 of the channel, we reviewed a little indie called Wargroove. It was the spiritual successor to Nintendo's Advance Wars, a game that I played endlessly with my brothers in a competitive mode. When Gabe and I checked it out, we played cooperatively through single battles, loved our time, and then headed on out. It wasn't a game made for co-op, but we made it our own co-op game and loved it for that. Then they released the Double Trouble DLC, which basically was just a reaction to our video featuring a full co-op campaign, and we played and enjoyed that too. So it's with a heavy heart that I say we won't have time to play Wargroove 2 this year due to scheduling. October is just so stuffed. It's especially heavy because reviews have already come through and it's looking like an awesome sequel, with everything just being better in Wargroove 2. It's got an 84 on OpenCritic before launch, and next month we'll update you on Steam user reviews and hopefully talk more on the co-op features. It feels like we've been talking about Lords of the Fallen every single monthly this year, between strange name changes, to exciting trailers, to positive previews, and any emerging co-op details we've gotten in between. Yeah, it's been a lot. All of those pieces to the puzzle has created a game that we are genuinely super excited to sit down and play. Expect us to give you guys a how-to for the co-op here, as it looks to modernize the usual Souls-like co-op woes, and a full review with some streams in between. Nothing beats sitting back with my boy and playing a Souls game in co-op, and Lords of the Fallen is doing everything in its power to scratch that itch. We'll see you there on October 13th. This next game is the long-awaited 2D platforming sequel to one of the biggest, if not the biggest, video game mascot around, and I could not be more excited to play it. Oh wait, the editor just told me that I did the Mario entry a few spots early. This is just Sonic Superstars. Jokes aside, I'm still excited for Sonic Superstars, but I have my doubts. We've covered some previews earlier this year that went back and forth on whether the co-op will actually work in Sonic. That remains to be seen, but if we have the time, we'll try to cover it and let you know ourselves. Wizard with a Gun is the little train that could, after several major delays, but it's finally going to be here this October on the 17th, and for the uninitiated, it's an online cooperative sandbox survival game. It's got a lot of crafting, base building, colorful combat, and a nice art style to boot. We might be covering this one, so stay tuned to the channel to hear more. Just like the last game, Endless Dungeon is a title we've seen go through multiple large delays, but it's finally here and we are very pumped. This is a roguelike tactical action game for up to 3 players online. Looks like a lot of fun, has some great action, and has received positive buzz leading to the launch. Like Wizard with a Gun, this is a maybe for us. We definitely want to cover it, but it'll depend on how the schedule shakes out. We'll see how that goes come late October. And now we get to the big man himself. Mario is returning for his first 2D platforming adventure in 10 years. I again could not be more excited. Between the gorgeous new art style and animations, a ton of new power-ups, Wonder Seed transformations that look to totally change up the formula, and of course the co-op. If you've been keeping up, you know that there will be both local and online co-op, but the online co-op still remains to be tested. I think the whole ghost thing could work, but we'll be the ones to try it out and let you know. I do believe this has the juice to pop off in a big way and be a Game of the Year contender, and as I've said before, here's your friendly reminder. It comes out the same day as Spider-Man 2, so be sure to ask off early for that day. You're welcome. Finishing off the month, we have Lord of the Rings Return to Moria. This is a co-op survival title with up to 8 friends where you embark on a mining journey through the rich history of the Tolkien series. If you're into this, then I'm sure you're popping off for it. Base building, Minecraft-like exploration, magic tools and weapons. It's a dwarf's dream come true. Check it out on the 24th with your friends. And that's the month of October. Remember how stacked I said it was? Again, I would totally be interested in covering every single one of these games if I could, but alas, time is not infinite, so let's move on to the news.
Let's kick off this news block by going over some updates on release titles before I hand the mic back to Andrew to chat about upcoming titles, and then he'll pass the mic back to me to end on any new game announcements. Make sense? Let's do it. So you guys remember Wild Hearts? Yeah, that came out earlier this year and your boys loved it. Well, sucks to be us, cause EA is reportedly ending support on the game according to an official moderator of the official Wild Hearts Discord server. An official report hasn't been made, so this could just be speculation, but the game hasn't sadly gotten the steady stream of updates that we all expected it would. Hard to say if we'll ever get a Wild Hearts sequel, or if this is EA simply walking away from the new IP altogether. I'm hoping for the best, but we all know money talks, and I have a feeling this might be the end of Wild Hearts. Well, when it rains, it pours, my friends. Similar to Wild Hearts, Evil Dead the game will not receive any further updates, and the upcoming Switch version has been officially cancelled. The game is ending development after 16 months, and several DLCs adding new characters from across the franchise. We both really enjoyed this game, so it's a little sad to see it go, but the online servers will remain for the foreseeable future, and I think it had a pretty good run as far as these asymmetrical games go. A game that is still kicking is Temtem, which recently launched its brand new Endless Night update alongside the start of Season 5. This new update brings with it a new mystical Temtem, brand new quests, a new randomized mode, and much more. Glad to see Temtem is still alive and well, and I gotta say, I love when games put out spooky seasonal content for fall. I'm here for it. This one's exciting. Gotham Knights is officially coming to Game Pass on October 3rd. I honestly couldn't think of a better game to come to Game Pass. Okay, well actually I could, but Gotham Knights is still an excellent addition. Even though we both love Gotham Knights, we can still see all the ways it's heavily flawed, and that's why playing it on Game Pass instead of paying full price seems like a great move. Stardew Valley has received yet another update, and this is a big one. Update 1.6 has too many things for me to list here, but the most notable for us is of course the game now supporting 8-player co-op on PC. That's pretty cool. I mean, with 8 players, your farm is essentially running at peak efficiency as long as no one's slacking off, of course. Make sure you look up the patch notes if you want to see what else was added. Exoprimal got its second major free update, and I gotta say, it's bringing quite a lot. A new oil rig map set in the middle of the ocean, a new final mission where you have to team up with every player to escape, some new rig abilities, a Street Fighter collaboration, is that Robot Chun-Li? Yeah, I think it is, and limited time holiday campaigns. Is it enough to make Exoprimal relevant again? Not likely, but if you're still out there priming, happy you'll have some new content to keep you busy. Now let's switch to Andrew for updates on upcoming co-op titles.
Earlier this month, we got a deep dive gameplay trailer into Enshrouded, a cooperative survival sandbox title you might have seen us cover here before. A few things stood out to me. Visually, the game is actually pretty impressive, the glider looks like a fun way to traverse the world, and the exploration just looks like a good time. But there were some red flags, like questionable AI and skill trees. I did see a double jump as a skill node. Not a huge fan of that. Overall, this looks like a pretty by-the-numbers survival title, but with 16-player co-op. And hey, pro tip, you can play it during the next Steam Next Fest on October 9th. During Sony's State of Play, we got some new trailers for 2 highly anticipated co-op titles, starting with Helldivers 2. Unfortunately, we were told it was delayed into next year, specifically February 8th. Honestly, I'm totally okay with that. This fall release window is stuffed, as we've been talking about, and this just shot up to being one of the most, if not the most anticipated 2024 co-op titles. I'm sure we're going to hear that Warhammer Space Marines 2 is joining it soon on that list, once we get confirmation of the inevitable delay. We also got a story trailer for Ubisoft's Frontiers of Pandora. Not much to say, the game looks visually stunning like everything else in the Avatar universe. We know it's going to be 2-player online co-op, gameplay looks very Far Cry, I'm cool with that, and it's the only game brave enough to release in December. Your boys will be there on the 7th to check it out.
Switching gears to new game announcements now, Nintendo held a Nintendo Direct earlier this month, same day as a PlayStation State of Play, but to Nintendo's credit, they called it first. With it, we got the news of the upcoming remake of Mario vs. Donkey Kong. The original Game Boy Advance title came out in 2004, so this has seen a pretty decent visual glow up, as well as adding local 2-player co-op where you play as Mario and Toad. Even though the Switch is nearing the end of its life cycle, Nintendo is killing it lately, and I have no doubt this game will be pretty sweet when it releases on February 16th for the Nintendo Switch. Another new game from the Direct was Super Crazy Rhythm Castle. This is a rhythm-based party game that looks pretty fun and features tracks from Konami games like Castlevania, among other normal non-Konami tracks. The game is releasing later this year on November 14th for the Nintendo Switch. Contra Operation Galuga was revealed at the Nintendo Direct as well. This is a brand new entry in the Contra franchise, and it features 2-player local co-op story mode on top of a 4-player arcade mode. Bringing back retro franchises is all the rage right now, so hopefully Operation Galuga can be another great retro revival. No release date was given, but we should expect it sometime early next year. Last update for this vlog, The Division 3 is officially in development. The announcement didn't come as part of some nice teaser trailer or anything, rather it was part of a press conference highlighting the promotion of the new executive producer for the franchise. Which yeah, it's kinda weird, but I'll spare you the corporate babble here. My 2 cents, I think this is kind of a weird move to be honest. I'm more excited for The Division Heartland, not to mention they have that free-to-play mobile title, The Division Resurgence, coming up as well. That seems like one too many Division games, especially considering the live service landscape has changed dramatically since The Division 2 originally launched. I think Heartland is the answer to revitalizing this franchise, but hey, maybe they can make both of them work. We shall see.
And that's all for this monthly. If you stayed around long enough to the end, hats off to you. And if you're feeling satisfied with the product, maybe consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Right now we're playing through Baldur's Gate 3 with Jake. getting in a few more sessions of Payday 3 with Gabe and Adam, and we'll be diving straight into the Lords of the Fallen and Mario on release day. If you want to stay up to date with us, just check out our socials or hit that notification bell. Until then, we'll catch you next time on another episode of the Co-op Bros.